April 2nd, 2:10 p.m., Zodiac Hall, Fountain Room. And that's pretty much how things went down. Those are the facts of IS-7 as far as I'm concerned. I'm finally learning the truth about my father's last case.
So what happened at the trial?
Well, we lost. Von Karma did a real number on us.
Really? You couldn't prove that Mr. Tangaroa was innocent?
Oh, we could prove it alright. Had a decent little pile of evidence in our favor. Problem was, we underestimated Von Karma. He fought even dirtier than we feared. I can imagine. Secured conviction at all costs. That was always his guiding principle. Yeah, ain't that the truth? Anywho, the trial dragged on and on. Whole thing took about a year in the end. I'll never forget the day the verdict came down. December 28th that following year. It's April now, so, ooh, mama, we're talking over 17 years ago. Time sure does fly, huh? December 28th. I was there that day, 17 years ago, sitting in the courtroom gallery. Just before the trial got started, Gregory noticed that Samson was looking even worse than usual. Turns out the poor guy had finally reached his limit. It was so bad, even said he wanted to be found guilty.
Wait, you mean they forced a confession out of him?
Yeah, Von Karma got what he'd been pushing for from the very beginning. And when Gregory tried to drop the bombshell about there being nobody to speak of, he learned that Von Karma had used the power of the police to head him off at the pass. Even had himself a fake autopsy report. That wasn't the end of it. Von Karma had gotten Samson to falsely testify about himself to being an accessory to murder in court. Combined with his confession, the poor guy's goose was well and truly cooked. But Gregory still had his ace in the hole, though. The same ace he asked Detective Badd to help him with? Exactamundo! He knew he needed one last card to play if they squeezed the confession out of Samson. So he had Badd record all of Samson's interrogations.
I guess Detective Badd really wanted to know the truth too, huh?
We all did. But he was a trooper. Stayed with the case even after Von Karma took him off of it. He was tied up in some other big case too. Good old Badd. They don't make him like that anymore. Anyway, Gregory presented the recordings as proof that Samson's confession was coerced. And you know what? It almost worked. A cop named Ian Seidman got fired. Samson's interrogator and the initial detective before Badd. He took the fall for pretty much the whole thing. But Von Karma didn't get away scot-free. In fact, he was disciplined by the chief prosecutor for the one and only time in his 40-year career. Still, Samson himself couldn't stomach another day in court. So when that guilty verdict came down, it didn't just signal the end of that day, but of the whole sad affair. I don't remember a lot myself, but my father's face when they declared Mr. Tangaroa guilty. I was a young child at the time, but even I could tell how much he was hurting inside. Gregory wanted to appeal the ruling, of course. He would have done anything to clear Samson's name. But then, well, you know what happened next. Poor guy, he never got the chance. I should have left with him that day. I'll always blame myself for not doing that. But I shoved that aside and obsessed over something else instead. Or rather, someone else. I hated what you did. Hated you for choosing to stick with Von Karma. I hope you can forgive me. No, you had every right to hate me. I went on to become a prosecutor as planned, and that's when Mr. Von Karma showed me this case file. According to these records, Mr. Tangaroa was convicted as the main culprit in Mr. Frost's murder. Nope, that's not right. Samson was convicted as an accessory to murder. Strange. The file clearly states that he was the perpetrator. Plus, I'm fairly certain that all of Mr. Von Karma's cases were successfully solved. Mind if I take a peek at those? This file's been doctored. The part about the verdict, it's been changed.
What?
Here, feast your peepers on this. Convicted as an accomplice? That's a copy of the file they have on record at the courthouse. Then why is my copy so different? Well, you said it came from Von Karma, yeah? My guess is he didn't want Gregory's son thinking there was a murderer out there still at large. Didn't want you looking into it again before the statute of limitations was up. So everything I believed about this case was a lie? Like they say, we all gotta start somewhere. What's important is you know what's what now. The statute of limitations may have run out, but the truth's still out there, you know? I inherited Samson's case when your old man passed. Prosecution handed it off to somebody else, too. The great Von Karma wasn't gonna bother facing off against a rookie like me, was he? Anyway, long story short, the killer was never found. And Samson was found guilty instead.
That's terrible! Is there really nothing we can do to help him?
Not without the real perp, I'm afraid. Until then, his confession stands. Speaking of which, I didn't find out until after the verdict had been handed down, but Von Karma had threatened Samson and made him a deal. Told him if he didn't confess, he made sure Judy was convicted instead.
How could he?
Samson knew there was no way Judy could have done it, of course. But he wasn't going to take any chances, so he did what he was told and confessed to keep her safe. Now riddle me this, Milesy boy. Why do you think your Uncle Eddie just happened to be in the prison the day Bronco Knight died?
Ah, that's right!
You were there to see Mr. Tangaroa? Bingo. Judy and I both promised we'd visit him every day. I didn't quite keep that promise, but Judy did. She never missed one visit in all these years. Come rain or shine, she always showed up. But none of that changes the fact that Samson is still being unduly punished day after day.
How heartbreaking! We've got to do something, Mr. Fender.
Well, kiddo, that's actually why we came here. The ice sculptures are back on display, just like they were all those years ago. And we're going to see what we can find out. Right, Milesarino? I'm a prosecutor, Fender. I don't look at these things in the same way as you or my father, Miles. But that doesn't matter right now. Speaking not as a prosecutor, but as Miles Edgeworth. I want to know the truth behind both of these cases, and I'm not leaving until I do. You really are old Gregory's son, through and through. Alrighty then, now that that's sorted, we can really get to work. Good thing I brought the IS-7 case file and evidence with me today, huh? Here, documents first. Who doesn't love paperwork, am I right? The parts in red ink are my annotations. Thank you, Fender. And here's some evidence for you. Enjoy. There's quite a few, so I'd take a minute to scope them out if I were you. Small mountain of evidence from the IS-7 incident received from Fender. Yes, I see. I'll take a look at them in a bit.
You know, our current case is just full of loose threats, too, come to think of it.
Indeed. The key players of that incident 18 years ago who just happened to get caught up in another incident. The ice sculptures in the Winter Wing that are perfect replicas of the ones from 18 years ago. The poison gas attack in the Autumn Wing, which has been disguised to look like the Winter Wing. The two chemicals that were found inside the Pisces statue display case, ubiquium and asphyxion, that form a poisonous gas when mixed together. The victim of the gas attack, Carmelo Augusto, was no stranger to the events of 18 years ago, and who is still unconscious and undergoing treatment in the medical room. And finally, we've come to the body floating face down in the fountain. And the fact that the ice sculptures have melted, just as they did all those years ago. The events of the present day would appear to be intimately linked with the events of the past, which means they may be able to help us learn more about what happened 18 years ago.
Sounds good to me. Let's get investigating.
Objection!
Oh, no, you don't! aren't you forgetting something? I could have sworn this is my investigation.
Eustace is quite right. I do hope you aren't intending to obstruct him in his duties, Mr. Edgeworth. I would hate to have to add a guilty to my report to the committee.
What am I guilty of now? Of course not. I am simply offering once again to do what I can to help with this investigation.
Your offer is duly noted and duly declined. Oof, she isn't pulling any punches. The identity of the body from the fountain is currently being ascertained. It is only a matter of time until we have all the information we need.
Perhaps I can help you speed that process along. I think I have an idea of who our mystery victim might be.
What? Really? Then you have to tell me.
It's the law. Very well. Maybe it isn't just the ice sculptures that have resurfaced after 18 years. The body in the fountain may also be a visitor from the past. Who else? Artie Frost. I believe the body in the fountain is that of the man who was murdered 18 years ago, Mr. Artie Frost.
What? You're saying that was poor Chili Wings?
Wait, who the heck is Chili Wings, or Artie, or whoever it is you're talking about?
Artie Frost was a famous sculptor, Eustace, although he was better known as Paul Halik. The sculptures on display here are all his works.
No way. Sounds like he did well for himself. Always good to encounter a fellow winner.
Mr. Frost was also the victim in the IS-7 incident.
Judge Gavelle knows about the IS-7 incident?
Mr. Edgeworth, the IS-7 incident is an 18-year-old case, and according to police records, the victim's body was recovered and an autopsy duly carried out.
Sure, that's what the records say, but the records can't always be trusted.
What are you insinuating?
That while the records say stuff like body totally recovered, the defense back then begged to differ. Not that it stopped the prosecution from shutting them down hard, of course. Yeah? This is Winter. What? What is it,
Eustace?
The body. We got an ID. Some sculptor called Frost or something, so I guess Edgeworth called it?
Goddess of justice!
So my father's deductions were right all along. Well, Judge Gavelle, I'd say this changes things, wouldn't you? Perhaps now you'll admit that I might be of use to this case. More than a certain junior prosecutor anyway.
No fair! You're trying to steal the win!
I'm doing no such thing. All I want is to uncover the truth. And if we're going to get to the bottom of what happened here, we'll need to work together.
We do not need to do anything, and you do not need to know the truth. This case is none of your concern.
Objection! Whoa there, Judge G. I think you might be wrong about that.
Another of your interruptions, Mr. Fender?
Yup. See, I was on the defense team for IS-7, so this case is very much my concern. I was one of the pesky kids pushing the theory that the body had actually gone missing. The prosecutor at the time may have brushed us off, but you can't deny the testimony of your eyes. Or to put a little more bluntly, the prosecution's case was rotten from the ground up. When there's been a miscarriage of justice caused by the prosecution, it's the committee's job to fix it, no? And who better to help you unpick the mess than someone who was there at the time? Unless you have an ulterior motive. Judge Gavelle seems to know the facts of the IS-7 incident in some detail, in which case I suspect she must be here on the committee's behalf.
Your connection to the case is noted, Mr. Fender, but I fail to see how it concerns Mr. Edgeworth.
He's the son of the original defense attorney and the protege of the case's lead prosecutor. And if that's not enough for you, he was at the trial too. I think it's just possible he might have a little something to bring to the table, don't you?
Very well. You may both assist in the investigation, but only if you refrain from interfering with the work of others. The Winter Wing is off limits for now. This room, however, is all yours.
Alrighty. Great to hear we're on the same wavelength, G. Why don't we bring it in to show we're all on the side of justice?
Do not test me, Mr. Fender. Your permission to investigate can be revoked at any time.
Duly noted, Your Honor. This is a turn up for the books, huh, Mousy? We get to do our thing after all. Thanks to your immeasurable help as always. No sweat. Besides, I was mostly doing it for me. Okay, I'll be investigating my own thing, so just holler if you find something interesting. I will. Well, okay, shall we?
Heck yeah! Let the investigation commence!
We're still unclear on two key facts. How Mr. Frost's body came to be where we found it, and the source of the ubiquium.
You're right. We need some more intel.
Indeed. Let's focus on the ubiquium first and foremost.
It's used in stuff like dish soap and paint, right?
Correct. It's also a bright red in color and has a distinctive minty fragrance.
Okay, sounds like we know what we're looking for.
Let's go. Miss Bound's tea set is laid out nearly on the serving card.
The pamphlet says the gallery is famous for its tea.
Understandably so. The cup we were given was delicious.
Looks like all of this stuff was designed by Mr. Frost.
Interesting. In that case, I think we better take a closer look. Yep. The tablecloth draped over the card is pure white and completely spotless.
And it's just waiting for me to grab it by the edge, clear my mind, and whoosh!
Okay, I cannot stress enough how bad of an idea that would be.
Oh, come on! What's the worst that can happen? Even if it does go all sideways, we'll just wind up with a cool tea-colored tie-dye.
Yes, well, I'd rather it remain white. Plus, I don't think Miss Brown would appreciate us meddling with it.
Really? But there are so many other colors that would totally work. Pink, sky blue, tea leaves brown.
So this dishware was made by Artie Frost.
Looks very fancy.
Oh, it is. I'm willing to bet that this set can fetch something in the thousands of dollars. Let's try not to touch any of it unless we absolutely have to.
Whoa, this stuff's really worth that much?
Stop it, Kay. I can see your eyes lighting up. Miss Bound must really be a fan of Mr. Frost like Fender said to still have this. Yup. Hey, Etsy! What is it? You be careful with that teapot, you hear? Why is Larry so concerned all of a sudden?
Honored guests, I can pour you a cup if you like.
Miss Bound.
Ah, Judy! I'm good, thanks. No tea for me. You two knock yourselves out.
Thank you for the offer. Yes, why not? A quick break won't hurt.
2 cups coming right up. This smells great. Wow, it tastes even better than it smells. What type of tea is this, Mr. Edgeworth?
It's Ceylon, I believe. It's usually identifiable by its citrus aroma, but... Miss Bound, is this the same blend you served this morning?
Why, yes. Is it all right? There isn't anything wrong with it, is there?
Oh no, not at all. It's just that the cup you gave me earlier had a slightly different aroma.
Really? That's odd. I used the exact same blend both times. I can't see what could account for the difference.
Hey, what's the big idea? Quit being me around Judy's tea, will ya?
What's gotten under your skin, Larry?
Nothing. You're just rude, that's all. You don't even try to call me by the right name. It's Laurice Donham, dang it. You know what? I'm done. I'm not talking to you anymore.
Well, that was childish, even for him.
Wow, what happened there?
Let's ask him about it later, shall we? Talking to Miss Bound is more of a priority right now. We may not have any evidence to prove that she's the culprit, but it does seem likely that the poison gas was her doing. Indeed. From the color and aroma, I'd say this is a puddle of spilled tea.
And look, there's a small chunk of ceramic in it. I guess somebody must have broke something.
I know that insignia, and a certain high-strung somebody just might know a little something too. I'm going to keep this simple, Larry. You're hiding something, so just tell me what it is.
Whoa, quit it with the glare off, you two. It's weird. Come on, Kay. You know me better than that. I wasn't staring. I was struck by an idea for a picture. Now, Edgy? He was glaring. Yes, and I'll keep glaring at you until you tell us what it is that you're hiding. Quit it! I already told you I'm not talking to you anymore. You're talking to me right now. I mean, from now on, I'm not talking to you ever again. Starting now. This is getting me nowhere. I suppose I'll have to figure out what he's hiding first before I can get the whole truth out of him. Well, there is something we can. Would you mind taking a look at this from me, Larry? Why would you show me that? Tell me, what is it about Miss Bounds tea set that got you so agitated? Nah. If you won't tell me, then perhaps you prefer to explain it to Judge Gavelle? Wait! Don't make me look bad in front of Verity. She thinks I'm a sensible, cool, clean-cut guy. I don't want her to see the real me, the real low-down, dirty me. I'm not so sure anybody here thinks you're particularly clean-cut, Larry. But if you don't want her to think badly of you, the best thing you can do is talk to me. All right. I'll talk. All right, Larry. Enough is enough. Now confess. Is this any way to treat your best friend, Edgy? Is this any way for you to treat yours? By lying to him? Hiding things? I get the picture already, so stop glaring at me like that. I'll tell you everything, okay? Earlier, I thought Verity might like a cup of tea, so I went to pour one for her. But I got distracted and my hand slipped and smash! Broke the teapot. Priceless work of art. It's in pieces because of me. No words exist to describe how far away I saw this coming from.
Ouch! You really messed up this time, Laurice.
See, Edgy? Everyone's gonna think less of me now. Judy's never gonna forgive me for this. Crying to me won't do you any good. I think you need to apologize to Miss Bound.
My teapot? I see.
I'm sorry, Judy. I'm so sorry. I don't have any money, but I'll paint your portrait. I'll paint you 50 portraits.
Please, Mr. Donim. It's really me who should be apologizing. How could I have failed to notice that there were broken pieces of ceramics on the floor? Somebody could have been hurt. Here, let me make sure that's safely disposed of.
The teapot in question was designed by Artie Frost, correct? I understand it was something you've long treasured. You must be upset.
Oh, I am. But of course, all things break eventually. And as luck would have it, I have another identical teapot. It's far from the end of the world.
Is she less attached to Mr. Frost's work than she used to be? I can't believe this, Judy. You're the sweetest, the kindest. This other teapot you're talking about is the one sitting on top of the car right now, right?
What do you mean?
Yeah, so when I smashed the first one, I tried to hide the pieces in the bottom of the cart. And that's when I saw that other pot under there. So I took it out and basically switched the two pots.
Oh, I see.
Yup, and that's everything I have to tell you. I'll be extra careful not to break the other one, I promise.
You have no shame whatsoever, do you?
I'm sorry.
It's really quite alright. Thank you for being so honest.
See, Edgy? Isn't Judy the absolute best? I trust you won't take advantage of her kindness and will make amends somehow. I sure will. Once I make it as an artist, I'm gonna give her one of my paintings. She was one of my models after all. It's only fair. At this rate, I suspect he's likely to make more trouble than amends. Don't you think it would be better for you to keep out of her way for a very long while? Oh, but I will be keeping out of her way, because I sketched her and the others already. Her and the others? Keen to see my work, huh? Yeah, I drew a few great sketches of some ravishing beauties. Want to see?
Interested in Laurice's ravishing beauties, huh, Mr. Edgeworth?
I'm afraid you've greatly misjudged Kay. I simply wish to see if Larry has captured any unusual details this time, too. Unusual details? Nothing's unusual about these. They're my best work yet.
Really? Now I want to see them too.
Aw, you're a sweetheart, Kay. All right, let me dig them out for you. Give me a sec, okay? I suppose we might as well take a look. So, these sketches of yours. Seriously, Edgy, if you want to check out my art, you should have just said so from the get-go. Here, feast your eyes on this. What am I looking at?
I told you already. Ravishing beauties. Just a few of the fair faces that have caught my eye since I've been here, you know. There is Verity and Judy and somebody else.
Why did you draw them all on the same page?
Well, I meant to draw the room at first. Just something to pass the time. And then I saw one beauty and another, and well, I just scribbled them all down as I went.
So these were all drawn at different times?
Huh? Yeah, I guess. I did one of you too, Kay. You're on a different page, though.
Wow, you did? I'm flattered.
How true to life are these sketches? Did you only draw what you actually saw?
Of course! You think I draw things I can't see? Like using my imagination? Nope, these are 100% true to life, right down to the exact shade of each color.
So the colors are accurate. Interesting. Much as it pains me to admit it, Larry may have provided me with a useful piece of evidence yet again. The serving card in the sketch, for example, if I compare it to the one here in the room, there's a clear contradiction between the two. I think a little deduction is in order. Could I borrow this page for a while, Larry?
Sure thing! You want me to sign it for you?
Just the page, please. That's enough out of you. Now let's check this out. Could this be related to the evidence somehow? Yep, there is. Larry's sketches.
Eureka!
Larry, could I ask you something about your sketches?
Fascinated by the work of the Grey Larice Donham, huh? It's the composition, right?
Not exactly. This light blue tablecloth, you painted that exactly as you saw it, correct?
I already told you. Everything is exactly as I saw it.
But the tablecloth on the card here in this room is white.
Wow. Your head's so full of crazy theories, the simple stuff just passes you right by, huh?
What's that look for?
Listen, just before I drew that sketch, I was in the middle of some business with the cart with the tea set on it, okay? What kind of business? That's right, it was the hiding the pieces of the teapot I smashed kind.
That's nothing to boast about.
Anyway, I was still in the middle of cleaning it all up when Judy came out of the winter wing. I didn't want to get busted for breaking the pot, so I quickly dove out of sight.
Wait, Miss Bound came out of the winter wing?
Yeah, and she was pushing a cart. A different one. That's the one with the light blue tablecloth on it that I drew.
And what did she do with this second serving card?
Well, I saw her wheel it into the summer wing, but I don't know what happened to it after that. When she came back out, she was pushing one of those other carts, the kind you can lift stuff with.
A lift cart?
Yeah, so I called out to her, but she just ran off and left it behind. Never had her down as the shy type, but it just goes to show. You never know.
Another serving card and a lift card.
Is there maybe another tea set too?
We'd better check with Miss Bound. Indeed. All right, time to connect. The tea smells different with the switched teapots. I suspect the difference in aroma we noticed is due to the teapots having been switched.
You do?
I can't see what else it could have been. The tea itself hadn't changed. Why don't we ask Miss Bound just to be sure? Miss Bound, the difference in aroma we noticed, do you think it could have been because of the different teapot?
I suppose so.
My cup just now had a subtle minty scent, rather like uva tea.
Oh, I just remembered. I made some peppermint tea in that pot only yesterday. That must be where the minty aroma is coming from.
Could that really be it? I doubt it. Now we must subtract the leftover aroma to the minty fragrance. The tea from the teapot Larry switched in from another cart smelled faintly of mint.
Right. Miss Bound said she used the pot to make peppermint tea yesterday.
Yes, but there's something else that's been troubling me. Miss Bound seemed more taken aback by the switching of the teapots than the breaking of one.
You're right. You expect it to be the other way around.
I suspect she might have been deliberately hiding the teapot underneath the cart.
But why?
One of Ubiquium's key characteristics is its minty fragrance. So what if she had been hiding some in that teapot?
What? In the teapot?
It's simply a possibility, but one worth investigating, I believe. Mr. Winner, any luck finding that ubiquium?
Huh?
Oh. My people are searching the entire gallery, but they haven't found anything yet. And what about you? Don't tell me you know where it came from. I may have an idea.
Ha! I knew it! If I can't find it, there's no chance of useless. What?
You do know where it came from? Yes.
Where?
Miss Bound's teapot.
Wow, nice piece. I like it. Yeah, this looks like a fitting prize for a natural-born winner.
It's not a prize. It's a vital piece of evidence.
Oh, it's just evidence? Then I'll have one of the forensics people check it out.
Mr. Edgeworth, is there some sort of problem with my teapot?
Possibly. The minty fragrance we noticed coming from it. I think it just might be the scent of one of the chemicals used to make the poison gas.
But, Mr. Edgeworth, surely you don't think I had anything to do with that?
I am afraid I do. The method used to create the gas would have required considerable preparation. Nobody would have had the time or the opportunity to set that up. Except you.
That's not strictly true. It took around a week to get Zodiac Hall ready for the exhibition. There were all kinds of people coming and going through here during that time. Delicia, for one. So you see, I'm not the only person who could have set it up at all.
Miss Scone is on our radar too, of course. You needn't worry about it, that.
And besides, I wouldn't know the first thing about making poison gas. So even if you did find some ubiquium in my teapot, I wouldn't have had any idea what to do with it. But I suppose we should see what the test results say first.
Miss Bound claims she doesn't know the first thing about making poison gas. I need to find a way to prove that she's lying. Well, while this is going on, time to talk to Judy. Where were you before you rejoined us here, Miss Bound?
I had to go and tell our visitors were closed. Oh, and hand out a little something in apology. Was there something you wanted to talk to me about?
Yes, a few things actually. Not least of all, the fact that I think you might be the one who set the poison gas trap. Are there 2 serving carts here at the gallery, Miss Bound?
Oh, yes. Why do you ask?
A certain so-called artist showed us this sketch. I couldn't help but notice that the color of the tablecloth, it's light blue.
Light blue? I'm afraid your friend must be mistaken. I only use white tablecloths, freshly laundered and starched. Like the perfect wrinkle-free one on the card here in the fountain room, right? Exactly. If I saw so much as a blemish, I would replace it right away.
Could the color of the tablecloth in this sketch simply be a mistake on Larry's part? Do you have any idea of what you might have been doing when this sketch was drawn?
Let me see. I appear to be carrying on my usual duties.
I'd like to ask you a little more about these duties, if I may. What exactly were you doing when this sketch was drawn?
Because from what I can see,
your cart doesn't have a tea set on it.
I was delivering some chocolates to the investigating officers. Aww, now I'm jealous. I love chocolate. Well, there were a few left over, so here, for you both. I made them myself. I hope you like them. Woohoo! Thanks, Miss Bound.
Well, why not? They're a little melted, but I suppose that's because they've been sitting around in her pocket.
They're super sweet. I love them. I'm very glad to hear it.
They may not be the prettiest, but I'm grateful for the energy boost nonetheless. Though perhaps they could do with a little less sugar. Like father, like son. The original ice sculptures melted 18 years ago, correct? How did you manage to recreate them?
Oh, you know about what happened back then? In that case, you might also know I took pictures of them during the contest. I commissioned the creation of a set of replicas based on those photographs for this current event.
But why go through the trouble of creating replicas?
Mr. Frock's Zodiac series was his great unfinished masterwork. I wanted to see it completed at last, or rather, recompleted. It was my fault that the original set melted in the first place, after all.
I see. And is there any particular reason why the Winter and Autumn Wings look so similar?
Oh my! You really think they look alike? Perhaps I used some of the decorations from the one in the other by accident.
She's clearly lying, but I don't have the evidence to prove it just yet. We don't, sadly. It seems the police have already removed the body.
But why did the body of a victim from 18 years ago turn up in this fountain? And why wasn't it all rotten and stuff? Did it slowly shuffle its way here?
Need I remind you that zombies aren't real? It seems likely that the body was preserved somehow.
Really? Is that even possible? Hey, Mr. Forensics guy, anything to report?
Yes, ma'am. Traces of both ubiquium and asphyxion have been detected in the fountain.
I'm gonna say they were probably carried here by the stream from the autumn wind.
In addition to those two chemicals, there's also a large amount of sugar. The composition of the sugar is being analyzed as we speak. There's sugar in the fountain. Where would it even have come from? Edgeworth speaking.
Sir, it's me.
Is everything all right, Detective?
Everybody's left the winter wing. It's just me in here now, which means I can tell you what we found out.
You really shouldn't be sharing information about the investigation. But after the past week or so, I'm not about to stop up now.
The exhibits in here have all completely melted. All that's left in the display cases is some stuff at the bottom. More of it in the Taurus case than in the Gemini case, though.
Describe this stuff for me if you can.
Yes, sir. It's like a pale blue liquid. I had the lab run some tests just now. The sample from the Taurus case just had a bunch of sugar in it. But the one from the Gemini case had 3 different substances in it, which were sugar, salt, and blood.
Blood? What are salt and blood doing in the Gemini case's sample?
Can't imagine whose blood it could possibly be, but I'll get it tested right away, sir.
Please do, Detective.
Oh, I also spoke over the radio with the forensics guy working the fountain room. He said he just got word that the sugar they found in the fountain matches the sugar in the pale blue liquid.
I see. That might well prove to be a significant development.
Anything else to report, Detective? Yes, sir. We found one of those light-emitting devices here in the winter wing, too.
There were a few of those being used in the autumn wing to disguise at the winter wing, as I recall. It seems that the equipment from 18 years ago was more than just for show. I need to talk to Miss Scone about this.
Anyhow, I better be getting back to it. I'll let you know as soon as we hear from the lab about that blood.
Yes. Thank you, Detective.
Was that Gummy? Seemed like he had a lot to say.
He did. And all of it very useful. If I'm going to prove that Miss Bound's claims who could have set up the poison gas trap are false, I'll need to talk to a certain somebody else who was here 18 years ago. One moment. Now we need to talk to Delicia. Miss Scone, I'd like to ask you a few questions, if I may.
Of course, dear. Fire away. Anything for you, Mousy Smousy, and sweet little Tooth Decay.
I'd appreciate if that was the last time you call me Mousy Smousy.
I'm not a fan of Tooth Decay either. Well, you just have to like it or lump it. I can't change a nickname once I've settled on it. Ah! Well, I guess we tried.
What can you tell us about the various devices used to decorate the gallery's exhibits? There seem to be some pretty specialized items in use. Light-emitting devices, luminous fabrics.
Oh, I can tell you all about those, dear. After all, I'm the one who gave them the Moody Judy. It was my way of saying sorry after I broke the rules all those years ago. I bought her 4 lovely new salt lamps, and I gave her the 4 pieces of luminous cloth I used for the contest. Wow, that's super generous of you. Well, us girls have to do our best, don't we? Not everybody understands, of course.
And it better not be a dig at me, Delish. I told you how kind I thought that was.
Yes, back when you were dear, sweet, innocent baby boy. What happened to you, eh? Dear, sweet, innocent baby boy, Mr. Fender? Can't quite picture that, I have to say.
So these decorations, they're all the same as the ones you saw 18 years ago, correct? Yep. Salt lamps, glowing fabric, light-emitting doodads, the whole bit. There were 4 luminous cloths in use in the autumn wing, but I'm sure I saw another one somewhere.
I'm not lying. Oh, it's in my bag somewhere, I'm sure of it.
What is she looking for?
That's not it. Ah, and that's not it.
That cloth looks familiar. Maybe I should jog her memory with something so Miss Scone would tell us more. You're right. Let's present this. You had a piece of fabric like this in your bag, did you not, Miss Scone? Albeit a somewhat grimier one.
Grimy? How rude! You won't get people to cooperate with your little investigation like that, young man.
Shall I call it a dish towel then? Perhaps you use it to wipe out some sort of spillage.
A spillage, he says. The cheat! That's a piece of highly specialized luminous cloth. Oh, I probably shouldn't have told you that.
I think I'd like to know a little more about this highly specialized luminous cloth, if you don't mind. Miss Scone, you're something of a specialist. How might someone learn to make the poison gas that was used in the attack, Any ideas?
Well, any pharmacist who's ever handled Infesticide Ultra would know for a start. After all, it says right there on the label, do not mix with products containing ubiquium, ever.
But what about a layperson? It's unlikely they know, wouldn't you say?
I suppose so, yes. Well, not unless they had a nose through the Ultimate Cookbook anyway.
The prize from the contest 18 years ago.
The recipe for making Infesticide Ultra, along with that not mixing with ubiquium bit, is in there, you know?
So you're familiar with the contents of the book?
Oh yes, dear. I know it inside out. Because I work for the Tangaroa group, you see. We're the company behind Cold Killer X. I'm sure you've heard of it.
Cold Killer X fights back sniffles and sneezes with ease, apparently.
After Sammy Poople was found guilty, the company took custody of the book. But they only grant their most trusted people access to it, of course.
Which means Miss Scone is one of those elites, I suppose. Why didn't you want me to know you had a piece of luminous cloth in your bag?
Oh, well, I suppose there's no point hiding it now, is there? If you must know, I fished it out of the fountain. It was right before they called me into the Autumn Wing.
So Larry's sketch of Miss Scone is of when she saw trying to retrieve the cloth.
At first, I thought it was one of the ones I'd given Moody Judy.
One of the 4 you'd given to the gallery, correct?
Exactly. But all 4 were being used in the Autumn Wing, weren't they? So I realized it must be the one that went missing all those years ago. I'd already have my Infesticide Ultra pinched and used to make poison gas. If one of my cloths turned out to have been used in some sort of dastardly deed too, well, I was gonna look guilty as sin, wasn't I? So I kept it hidden in my bag and hoped for the best.
I see.
Oh, it does feel good to get it off my chest, though. Stress is no good for the complexion.
So the cloth that disappeared 18 years ago, the one that the victim was wrapped in, just happens to reappear in the fountain at the same time as the body. Yep. Now only one loose end. Eddie. Hey there, Mazzarino. What's the situation with the investigation? Things are progressing. I think a fuller picture of what happened is beginning to emerge. Good to hear. Guess I better step up my game too then. This case seems to have a lot in common with the incident from 18 years ago. And how? It's got the lot. Mountain statues in the Winter Wing, and even the murder victim's body.
But how did nobody ever figure out that the body had gone missing?
Frost had no family apart from his son. Well, the kid kind of vanished. Nobody's seen him since around the time of the incident. Gusto's son, too. Him and his best pal from school both just up and disappeared.
What? And they were never found?
Gusto's body wasn't. Not as far as I heard, anyhow. Guess Frost's kid turned up in the end, though. He collected his inheritance at some point. But yeah, with no family around just after the incident, Frost got no funeral, no nothing. So no need for the police to release the body, and no need for anybody to find out that they didn't have it. They filed their fake autopsy report and nobody was any the wiser. Well, almost nobody. I still can't believe Mr. Von Karma would have stooped so low. Tell me, Fender, what kind of person is Miss Bound?
Huh? Wait a minute. Don't tell me you've got a thing for her, Master.
I do not.
Chill, I'm just yanking your chain. Anyway, what can I say about Judes? Well, she's a real brave trooper for one. What else do you call someone who waits around for 18 whole years like she has for Samson? Even after his extended family kicked her out of this place.
What? They threw her out?
Yup, Judes wasn't technically part of the family, so there was nothing she could do. She had nothing, nobody, and no job after Samson took the fall. So she had no choice but to take what he taught her and make her own way in showbiz. She's retired from all that now, though.
Yes. Why did she retire?
She finally made enough to buy the old place back. She even got the ultimate cookbook back from the Tangaroa crew after they basically stole it. Guess this place and everything to do with it was all she ever cared about. So she just wanted it back. All of it.
Venda seems very sympathetic to Miss Bound's plight. But from a less charitable perspective, she has in a way taken everything of Mr. Tangaroa for herself.
Now let's connect these two pieces. Bound's actions and the ultimate cookbook.
The ultimate cookbook contained instructions on how to create the poison gas. And the current owner of that book is none other than Miss Judy Bound.
No way! You mean...
I'm afraid I do. Miss Bound would have been perfectly capable of setting up the gas trap.
Finally, we can prove that she's been lying to us.
Indeed. Why is there a lift cart just sitting here out in the open?
Guess somebody must have been moving something heavy.
The top of the platform seems to be wet. You know, I've got a funny feeling I've seen this thing somewhere before.
You mean like 18 years ago?
Yeah, it's all coming back to me now. I last saw it in Frost's room. He must have used it to move the ice sculptures around. It's one of those fancy numbers where you can change not only the platform's height, but even its angle. If you had one of these, you could move giant lumps of ice around, no sweat.
Ooh, just think of the possibilities. I could really use one of these.
Still doesn't explain what it's doing here, though. Bit of a head scratcher, but we should give it a think, yeah?
Indeed. After all, it just might have something to do with our case.
Investigation complete.
And that's that. All that's left now is to await the results of the test on the teapot.
Yeah, that's it. We're done here with this part for now. We'll continue in the next. If you enjoyed it, please be sure to hit the like button, it means a lot. Please don't forget to like, comment, share, subscribe, and click the bell. I will see you then. This is MegamanNG signing off. Peace out. Product provided by Capcom.